What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2023 Genesis GV60 Performance. So, the GV60 is brand new here for Genesis, their first electric vehicle here in the States. And it's also, the same platform as the Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6. But of course, Genesis has really improved this interior in so many ways and just made this whole vehicle very unique and very different from those, I think, as well. But, yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that really wows you is just this color combo for this interior, which is optional, of course, but the navy blue with this like yellowish greenish stitching looks really cool in my opinion.
Yeah, I love it, and not surprisingly, with my favorite color being green and also neon green, it is very similar to that. It's like a neon green, yellowy, but it's so nice how it pops out on this blue, and the blue itself is very unique, so I love this combination.
Yeah, and it's also just nice that they're offering colors and interesting things, because like so many of the competitors, it's like you can get black leather or you get black Alcantara or gray Alcantara, and like no exciting colors. And Genesis is really good about this in their whole lineup of offering really sweet interior colors, lots of cool exterior colors as well, which is another notable thing. A lot of the others don't have, even half the colors you have here for the GV60. But on the inside, it just, gives you a unique and exciting kind of vibe in addition to the luxurious components, with all the metal and, the nice leather and everything. But anyway, there's lots of cool little party tricks and all kinds of individual little features that are really exciting and very fun here in the GV60. So we'll get into all those here, but breaking it down to the first component, the seats in the GV60, though, are very nice. They're pretty soft and comfortable. They're not maybe as soft as like Tesla seats or like the Mach-E seats, for example, but they're still nice and just feel really great. I love the perforations here you have on them. You have some Alcantara, you have the piping and the leather, and it all just feels really great. They're heated and cooled seats, by the way, which is also nice because a lot of electric vehicles don't offer cooled seats, and so it's really great that you have that.
And I'll also say that the cooling is really great. It actually really works. There's some companies that they just don't work that well, or it's just kind of like it's there but it's not, but these actually work really well.
Yeah, so it's also just, well done. That's great, So on top of that, though, it has a bunch of other adjustments here for the seat. So the driver's seat in particular has adjustable lumbar. It has a thigh extension that comes out. You have the relaxation seat thing where it'll kind of put the seat back and do all that for you. And it also has a massage function. It's not quite as advanced as the other different modes you have in other competing vehicles, but most EVs don't have a massage function. So as far as EVs go, this is really one of the only ones that gives you a massage as an option. And I kind of like it though, because even though it wasn't as advanced as some of the others out there from other companies, it just did a good job of kind of just feeling nice without being like overboard or anything. And just, I thought it was just still a really nice feature to have. But I mean, also having the seat, the bolstering set up, so when I was in the mood for sportier driving, I could tighten up those bolsters and stuff, was also really fun to have. And so overall, I just think they're really ideal seats in basically every way.
And with the passenger seat, you do get mostly all of the things that the driver does get. You have your lumbar, you have your power controls, you also have your relaxation seat, which is really nice. However, you do not get the bolstering or your massage function, but I think they're still really great seats in general.
And moving on to the steering wheel here in the GV60, it's also really nicely done and very cool with a bunch of different things to cover here. So it has first off a great 9-3 grip, nice 10-2 notches. You have a drive mode button and a boost mode button down here. And you can go watch the driving review for my thoughts on how much fun it is to use those modes. You can have all kinds of fun with that boost mode button. But beyond that, you also have paddle shifters here on the back of the wheel, but they're not for shifting anything. They instead change the regeneration mode, so you can have 4 different levels as far as how the vehicle decelerates, so that if you're going down a steep hill or something, you want to ramp that up, you can use those, or you can just ignore them completely and never touch them if you want. But it's nice to give you that customization because most of the other vehicles this competes with don't offer that, and I think it's a really fun thing, especially if you're someone who does want to be a little more involved in the driving experience. It's great that you have those, and they're nicely metal plated as well. Another thing that's metal plated are all these buttons here, and they all feel really high quality and nice, with little rocker switches here for various functions, as well as a few customizable buttons. So you'll see there's this circle button, there's also this star button, and then this other mode switch button here in the bottom right. And so the mode switch button will allow you to switch, and you can have it preset for whatever favorite media or radio function you want to use all the time. You can press that and it'll immediately go to Sirius XM, for example, or Bluetooth audio, whatever you want. And then also with the circle and star button, you can assign those to various different things. So if you wanted to shortcut to changing the climate controls, or have it do some certain program thing, whether it's destination, going home, or pulling up a map, whatever it is, you can have that just programmed into those individual buttons as well. And so it's great because this wheel doesn't really feel too cluttered either. So it's not like they added a bunch of buttons you're never going to use. Like, they're customizable. You can use them for exactly whatever you want to do with them, and yet you still have a wheel that's pretty simple and straightforward to use. And so overall, I think that they just absolutely knocked that out of the park as well. Moving on to the gauges here in the GV60. They're also very nice. You have these two 12.3 inch gauge displays. It has a couple different customizations. So you can change the look of the background there for the gauges. So you can have just nice and simple with a black, or you can have a very subtle map view there, which is really cool. Or you have this like driving off into the horizon thing, which is sweet. And so it's a good amount of customization, and you can also change what's on the right hand side there, and also a little bit of what's on the left hand side there. So it's nice that you do have a little bit of adjustment there. It would be cool if there was a little bit more, honestly, but I think that it's great. I really like these gauges, and so overall I think it's well done. You also do have a nice large head-up display here, so you can have a few different things displayed, but it'll mostly just do your safety tech. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, right up top you have again this 12.3 inch touchscreen, and it's really nice. So for 2023 here, because it's a little bit different than it was on past Genesis models we just reviewed, even just last year. And so again, great to have a few different looks to it, but I also love that they have everything set up in a logical way. Now there is a little bit more swiping and stuff, but this is all customizable as well, so you can change where these tiles are at. And again, because you have all these button shortcuts, you can kind of bypass some of this menu structure for the most frequently used functions that you're going to always be going into. But tuning radio stations and all that is very easy. And you do have a volume and tune scroller wheels here, as well as a controller wheel. So if you don't want to be touching the screen for everything, or if you just prefer having a controller wheel, they have a great controller wheel here that works very well, and also feels nice too with having the metal on it and stuff. And so I mean, however you want to interact with this screen, it works very well for all that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I loved too, especially when I was driving, was that I could use that controller wheel and the volume and tune knobs there, which was so nice because I'm not used to having a touchscreen 24/7, so having the option to choose either one was really nice.
Yeah, so it's great, again, giving you lots of options. And it's also nice that these controls, by the way, are centrally located here, so that it's not as far of a reach, I think, for you to go here versus having a volume knob that's right next to the driver or something like so many other cars these days do. And continuing on with that theme of customization, you also can have different user profiles. So you can have it set up so that it knows which users in the car based on the key or whatever, and you can also have it so that it has all your preset information as far as your personal preferences, your favorite radio stations, and all of that. And it also can do that not only with the key, by the way, but also with this fingerprint scanner, which is this thing that's in between the volume and tune knobs, and that actually can be used to start the vehicle as well. So that combines with you have also a face ID scanner on the outside on the B pillar to allow you to get into the vehicle and unlock it without the key if you want, and then you use your fingerprint here to start it up. And so it's very cool you have that. But again, that fingerprint scanner also does serve as kind of like an identifier so that it knows who's in the vehicle and puts all the right user settings in there and stuff. So very cool. It has all that high-tech stuff. But one thing that's strangely not high-tech is the fact that it still has wired-in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto and not wireless smartphone integration. This is a weird Hyundai and Kia wide thing where the entire motor group, for some reason, and all of their screens does not have wireless smartphone integration unless you go down to the smaller tiny screens in some of the base Hyundais, strangely enough. But these top screens, for whatever reason, this 12.3 inch screen and the software behind it for all these vehicles doesn't have wireless smartphone integration. I'm sure they surely must be coming out with some kind of update or improvement for new model years to have that eventually, but for now you still got to plug your phone in, and that's something that most of the other competitors these days do have wireless smartphone integration. So that is the one area. I mean, this thing is so high tech in so many other ways, it's almost just like crazy that this does not have wireless smartphone integration, but it doesn't. And to make matters worse, the only way to plug in your phone is you have to use the USB jack down here. It's a USB-C jack that you have basically in the footwell of the vehicle here, and so you have to run cords from there up to like this nice wireless charging pad, which is right here by the armrest. A great placement for that, but you can't actually have your phone in there unless you don't want to ever use smartphone integration. Otherwise, you got to throw your phone in this cubby down here, which is basically sitting on the floor, and have your phone plugged in there. So not very convenient to reach down all the way into there. It's really a hassle and just terrible placement. And that's something hoping the Ioniq 5 also has the same placement. I really wish Genesis would have fixed it here for the GV60, but unfortunately it's the same conundrum of not having good smartphone, connection placement.
And with that, it's not that easy to get to because the center console is moved pretty forward.
But it is kind of interesting that you do also have this flat floor, which is really cool. So you have a lot of space to, throw a purse or, a grocery bag or something like that in there, and, have, this very airy cabin kind of with that. But it just would be nice if this would even slide, because I think in the Ioniq 5, this whole thing slides backwards. It'd be nice if we could slide to get it out of the way, but I don't believe it slides here in the GV60. But one interesting little touch we do have here is you also have another little cubby here. You can pop in, I don't know what, phone or something in there as well, because it is rubberized, so maybe that could be a little bit of a shelf to hold your phone, so you don't have to reach quite as far down, but you still have cords dangling and stuff. But that is one, interesting little touch there. And right above that, you also see your climate controls, by the way, which is another little mini screen, and it looks really nice, works great, nice and simple, easy to control.
And I love that these controls also have this nice haptic feedback.
Just a few shortcut buttons beneath that, as well as another star button to program for anything you want to, program in there. And so it's great that you have that, and just great that you have, the dedicated heated and cooled seat controls as well, because that is something with some of the other vehicles in Hyundai Group where you actually have to go into the screen to turn that on, and here you actually have hard buttons here right by the shifter for those seat controls, as well as your heated steering wheel. And so really well done with all the ergonomics here in the GV60. But then other storage component things to mention here. So in the doors here, we have a nice large pocket with a bottle holder and another little extra spot as well. You also have your center armrest here, which has some padding to it, and feels nice. And you open that up, and it's a very shallow little cubby here, but at least you have the slot here for your phone in front of it. And you can still fit a sunglasses case in there, so it's nice that you do have that. And the last little thing is that you have a glove box. It's kind of unique and not like any other glove box, where it's like this drawer essentially, and it's a good size as well. It goes really deep and far back there, actually, nicely rubberized, so could actually function as even more than just a normal glove box because of just how big that is. But two other cool things to mention here about this interior before we head on to the back seat is that first off, you have a 17-speaker Bang & Olufsen stereo here hooked up to this infotainment system, and it's actually a really nice sounding stereo. And I believe it's the first time that Genesis has worked with Bang & Olufsen, because previously their other vehicles have just had like infinity stereos and other different things. But so, I mean, having Bang & Olufsen here is a really nice touch. It sounded great, by the way. Obviously an electric vehicle is a really good sound stage for a sound system because you don't really have any engine noise to compete with or anything. But it just was a really nice, clear, powerful sound system and sounded really nice. It has a surround sound option as well. You can toggle on and off, and that sounded really good as well. But the other cool little party trick here is that every time you get in this vehicle, you'll see that there is this glowing orb for the shifter. And so it's just this really cool thing, and just is awesome to look at on its own. But then whenever you start the car up, you'll see that rotates, and then that displays your shifter, which also looks really nice with nice little thumb notches here, and metal and more glass, and just also looks really great, and it's backlit and everything. And it's just a fun touch. It's a cool thing to show off to people, whenever you're showing the vehicle. And it's also just a nice little surprise and delight thing that you continue to enjoy as you continue to own the vehicle, and just a nice little thing to see every day whenever you start it up. And so it's those little things that Genesis has been doing really well recently, with all just the abundance of customization no one else gives you, the fun little toys and maybe gimmicks you could even call them, but they're fun, and I think these days especially, having those things really sets it apart from the other just nice luxury vehicles with lots of leather, lots of wood, lots of the typical things. Having a little creativity, I think, really goes a long way with the interior colors, the interior features, the tech, all that kind of stuff. And I think that's one way the Genesis is really, it seems like they're giving 110% when everyone else is giving 100. And that's just, you kind of just get that vibe here from this interior, just with all those little, little touches that I think are just really impressive personally. But moving on to the back seat here in the GV60, it's a good amount of space. So I'm 5'9", I'm sitting behind myself. I still have several inches of legroom to spare back there. Good amount of headroom as well, considering this is, kind of like a sportback kind of shape. And you have this moonroof, by the way, which does have a power close feature. You can actually have a sunshade, so it closes itself up. Another thing that something like a Tesla or a Mach-E doesn't have, and it's really great that you have that. So if you don't feel like having the sun beaming down on you all the time, you have the option to close it up. Again, options, customization. That's what Genesis seems to be all about. But anyway, so I mean, we still have a great amount of headroom back there. You also will see there's little pockets there right at the top of the door, like a nice little bottle holder there, another little pocket in the lower part of the door. They have their own air vents in the B pillar there, which is great that you have those, because that means it frees up the space here. So you have two nice high mounted USB jacks here when you look forward in the center console, and you'll see this whole center console, that lower pocket passes all the way through to the front here. So I mean, it gives you just an abundance of storage space here, and it's so great that you have all that space. And so I mean, it's just awesome. You can store all kinds of little things away out of sight, especially, which is nice too. You can store that stuff out of sight. Those seats also recline, so you can have different angles for comfort there. And also, I really like, when I was sitting in that back seat, how it's kind of dished a little bit, so it kind of envelops you slightly, and it just made me feel a little more comfortable than the average bench in any other back seat in any other car. And just a tiny little touch again, where I'm just like, oh, that's really nice. And lastly, you also have a full down center armrest back there, and so it's great that you have that as well. So I mean, it really has all the features back there. So you have, everything that a backseat passenger could possibly want. They're also heated rear seats, by the way, which is another nice touch. And just very, very nice back seat.
Also, the fold down center armrest does have cup holders in that, so that is nice if you have more than one drink. There you go.
Yeah, multiple solutions, because it's really nice you have those little things in the doors too. So it's just, they got you covered in the back seat here, which is really great. And then moving on to the trunk space here in the GV60, it's pretty good. So it's, I'd say maybe slightly bigger than like a Mach-E back there. It's very competitive with, most of the others out there this is going to compete with. It's a good amount of space. There's a little bit of room beneath the floor there for like your charging cable and a few other little things there. But, I'd say it's pretty good. Now, unfortunately, you don't have any kind of frunk. So that's where you're going to really have a disadvantage compared to like a Tesla Model Y or a Mach-E or something like that, where those have nice large frunks in the front. You don't have that here in this, so you're just limited to that space back there, but it still is a good amount of space, right on line with most other crossovers. So I don't think anyone's going to really complain too much, but I didn't have any complaints. We were still able to fit, strollers and all kinds of large things back there, no problem. And so overall, just a really good amount of cargo space here, for an average crossover type of design. So the last little thing I do want to mention, though, is if you are someone who has a baby seat in the back of your vehicle, you're going to be hauling around, small kids. This vehicle does a really good job of swallowing up, a large car seat. This is one of the biggest convertible rear-facing car seats we have in here. And even with that in place, obviously it's very easy to put it there, but you still have enough space in the front seat here so that you can comfortably sit up front without hugging the dashboard. And so it's just really good that you have so much space, because a lot of other vehicles, even this competes with, from a size standpoint, are going to be a little bit tighter. Even like a Genesis GV70 is probably going to be a little bit tighter than this. And so they do a really good job of utilizing every inch of space possible here in the GV60 interior, so that you have a nice and spacious and airy feeling, whether you're up front, in the back, whether you have a car seat or not. It's just going to be a really nice place to be.
Also, getting the baby in and out of the car seat was pretty easy. I mean, sometimes with these smaller SUVs, it is a little bit more difficult to get them in, just because you have to kind of contort them. But I mean, I did have to do a little bit of that, but it wasn't that bad, and she was okay. She wasn't upset with me for doing so. But I mean, you could always look into a different car seat, so things like that. There are tons of car seats that turn around so that you can easily get your baby in and out. We just don't have one of those. So this works, and it wasn't too terrible.
Yeah, and I'd say that the roofline is definitely a little bit less sloped than some others out there, which might be a little bit more aggressive with that slope and make it a little harder to, put baby seats in and out. So I think it's pretty well set up for all that. And one last little thing as far as family features goes is you also do have little blinds you can pull up there and have, the sun blocked for, little kids. And so that's another really nice thing to have built in. No additional options, by the way. All of this stuff we're talking about all these come fully loaded, these GV60s currently. So you don't have to tick any option boxes or get any of the right, packages or anything. They all come fully loaded, which keeps it nice and simple. And I mean, that's, where I think Genesis just really has been leading the pack with, you get a luxury branded vehicle. It feels very nice and luxurious in here. Tons of features, everything you could want. And most of the stuff that a lot of other manufacturers won't even offer. And these start, about $60,000 for the non-performance version. And then for this performance one we're sitting in here, it's about $69,000, which is is still thousands of dollars less than like a Tesla Model Y that's comparably equipped, or even like a BMW i4 M50i or something like that. Those are, you know, $7,000 more. And then even like the Mach-E is pretty close in price for its performance version of the GT, and that has way less luxury. You have no cooled seats, they have no sunshade. There's so many things that's lacking compared to this. And so I think that this really, especially the performance version, if you're someone who's interested in that trim specifically, it gives you a lot more luxury than most of the others out there, while still giving you, you know, great performance, as you'll see in the driving review, and top-notch tech, which is something like the Volvo XC40 Recharge. Like, the tech in that isn't very good. And so this really, I think, has every corner nailed down, and it just really does a good job of covering everything. And not only just covering it all, but doing it well, and then giving you 110% with the fun toys, the great features, the great customization. They just, like usual, Genesis knocks it out of the park. I could be a Genesis salesman. I'm really not. But it's just like, these are just, they just do everything so well.
And it's really a big bang for your buck, honestly, just because you get every single thing that you would want and more. Things that you wouldn't expect you would ever care about using. Those things become second nature and are just super great to have.
Yeah. So they really do a good job on the new Genesis products, and the GV60 is one of our favorite electric vehicles currently. So definitely check it out if you're interested in them. And yeah, so as of right now, these are only being sold in a few states, so it might be a little harder to get one of these, but I think it's worth the hunt. It's worth finding it and hunting it down if you want one, because they're absolutely fantastic. But anyway, check out the driving review for all of our thoughts on how it drives. But anyway, that's all of our thoughts on the interior. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Genesis for providing us here with this GV60 to review for you guys today. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.